Well, it seems the heat is on, sweltering summer temperatures and wildfires in parts of the country. But the heat is on in another way as well, with a timeline on former President Donald Trump's classified documents case, which could, of course, impact his renewed presidential hopes. Let's discuss this and more with Benjy Hyer, our Washington, D.C. correspondent. Hello, Benjy. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's start with Donald Trump. I understand the timeline was due to come out today. Is it out, and is it going to interfere with his presidential ambitions?
Well, in classic American politics fashion, what we thought would be the headline of the day, that there was going to be some sort of understanding of the next steps of the classified documents case, it's been overtaken, if you could say that, by another one of the investigations at which he is the centre of. He's received a letter indicating that he could face an indictment, his third indictment, this in relation to his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. The letter coming from the Department of Justice to say that he is the target of that probe, and it's one of the biggest indications that he could face charges. He's had a number of Republicans come out to defend him, including House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who in the past blamed Donald Trump for inciting that mob that led the deadly riot at the US Capitol in January 2021, an effort to overturn the election result that he lost to Joe Biden, who has now come out and said that this is an example of the weaponization of government. And then, remarkably, as you say, Donald Trump is still facing separate charges in relation to his alleged mishandling of classified documents. And in the next, half an hour or so, his lawyers will go into a court to wrangle out some of the specifics in relation to that case, and we could hear from that what it means in terms of the timeline going forward. But of course, with both of those cases, the January 6th one and the classified documents one, and a couple of the others that Donald Trump is facing, there is limited time left when it comes to fitting all that in before the 2024 presidential election, for which he, Donald Trump, is still the Republican Party frontrunner.
I mean, it's astonishing. It doesn't seem that anything thrown at him really sticks. His party faithful or his loyal supporters just see it, as you said, as a weaponization against him. So I guess we'll keep an eye on that one and what Donald Trump does next. Meanwhile, the current president, Joe Biden, he's been under fire a little because he's been meeting with Israel's president, Isaac Herzog. Quite a lot of criticism about that meeting. Tell us why.
Absolutely. I mean, this is really a move by Joe Biden to show his pro-Israel credentials, critical for many US presidents, without inviting the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, to the White House. There has been an indication that Joe Biden and Netanyahu would at some time in the future meet, but the US president, has been critical of Netanyahu's domestic judicial policies, and so by inviting Isaac Herzog, it's a way to still show that the United States stands behind Israel without having the complications around Joe Biden standing side by side with Netanyahu. That hasn't stopped, as you say, though, criticism of this meeting taking place. There has been, in the past couple of days, some progressive Democrats, lawmakers who have come out and said that they would be boycotting Isaac Herzog's address to Congress tomorrow, and that follows one particular lawmaker, Pramila Jayapal, who said over the weekend that Israel was a racist state. She has since walked back on those comments a little later in the day, but still some sentiments within the Democratic Party that show that they're not comfortable with this meeting taking place. The United States, one of Israel's closest and strongest allies, though, and those sentiments will be reaffirmed, I'm sure, when Isaac Herzog addresses the media.
Meanwhile, the heat wave, the wildfires, I mean, it's astonishing what is happening. A little earlier in our program, we carried a story on how a group of South African firefighters is on their way to Canada. So this is not limited just to the USA, it's the entire region. Just give me the latest on what is happening and whether these fires are under control.
I think what's most astonishing is when you...
Benjy, I think we've lost you. We think we've lost our line to Washington. I'm just going to try one more time. Benjy, are you still with us? Hello, Benjy, can you hear us? And we lost him just at the point where he says, what's most astonishing? Hopefully we can get him back perhaps in a later programme. But that's Benjy Hyer, our Washington, D.C. correspondent. Oh, I believe he's back. Benjy, we lost you at the critical moment. You were about to tell us what is most astonishing about the fires, and then we lost you and our entire audience on the edge of their seats. So do continue.
Well, I want to reassure you that we haven't been affected by any sort of extreme weather here that cut out that line. But the one thing I wanted, I guess, people to take away was that when you talk about fires, it's difficult to know really which you're referring to. We have on the west of the country, in California, parts of the state in flames due to that extreme temperatures that we've seen in the past couple of days. And equally, in Canada, a resumption of some of the wildfires which have caused unhealthy and dangerous air pollution in the northeast of the country, including in sort of the likes of New York and Washington, D.C. And so you have this country sort of split on both sides, people facing extreme weather. And of course, you know, as you say, this is not limited to the US. There are other countries across Europe as well, too, which are facing sensational levels of heat. The warning here in the US is to remain vigilant, and people are kind of taking action into their own hands, trying to stay cool, you know, trying to get to the beach or public pools, or what we've seen as well, increasing their use of air conditioning to record levels in some states. A move that many scientists say is counterproductive, given that it's one of the reasons why we're seeing an increase in the use of energy and greenhouse gases.
Any indication of when this heat wave is actually going to break?
It depends where. I mean, for several days, the likes of Arizona or Nevada or Utah or California, you know, they're still going to see these temperatures which are almost hitting 50 degrees Celsius. It's likely to cool, but ultimately the warning from meteorologists is that this isn't some sort of freak event, that yes, the temperatures will subside and they won't be as crazy as they've been in the past couple of days, but ultimately we're now entering a new reality where these extreme temperatures that we have been witnessing are going to become more and more common. So whilst currently this may only last a couple of days, a week for example, there may be months, years to come where these temperatures return.
Yeah, that's the really worrying part. I have to finally ask you about this US national detained in North Korea. What we've read is that he was on a visit from South Korea into the demilitarized zone, the sort of no man's land, and somehow managed to sneak into North Korea. I mean, why he'd want to do that, one does not know. What is the very latest you've got on this? What happened?
Well, we've actually had a Pentagon briefing on this in the past couple of minutes. Let me just refer to what they said. They have admitted that this individual entered North Korea willingly, that he was a junior enlisted soldier assigned to US forces in Korea, and then jumped on a civilian tour back towards the demilitarized zone where you can cross over, and through his own volition decided to enter North Korea. Again, no reason why he might have done this, but he was facing disciplinary action by the US military. It's not been confirmed as to whether that was any sort of motive, and he also has not been officially named by the US government or the US military. They want to first confirm his identity with the family and also ensure his situation and status within North Korea, where he's currently being detained. And we will, I'm sure, hear plenty more details from the Pentagon when we learn them. But it is unknown at this moment why he's taken that, frankly, bizarre decision to turn around and enter North Korea.
All right, thank you so much. Completely fascinating story. Benjy Hyer is our Washington, D.C. correspondent.